Meanwhile, speaking of California, voting is underway there now in a special election on Proposition 50. That's the redistricting proposition. Governor Gavin Newsom's latest scheme to redraw the state's congressional map in a bid to mirror Texas's redistricting earlier this year.
5 California Republicans will potentially lose their seats if voters approve the proposition next week. One of them joins us now, California Congressman Kevin Kiley. So, Congressman, California has 52 congressional seats. President Trump won 38.3% of the vote during the last presidential election. And yet, even today, with these 5 seats still intact ahead of next Tuesday, including yours, there's just a handful of them that are for Republicans.
That's right. We have 9 right now, so that's about 17% of our state seats. And as you say, we get about 40% of the vote in statewide elections. So already very disproportionate. But now Newsom has come up with this gerrymandering scheme where he has explicitly said the goal is to make the states, quote, a whole lot bluer and pick up 5 seats. And, you know, you got to hand it to Newsom. He's not doing just any old gerrymander. He's doing a gerrymander that has been called one of the worst of the last 50 years by Princeton University's Gerrymander Project. They gave it an F grade. So, you know, you guys were talking about the failed policies in California. California is #1 in poverty, #1 in homelessness, #1 in unemployment. So now with Prop 50, Gavin Newsom also wants to make us #1 in gerrymandering.
You know, it really goes back so far in California, the Democrat gerrymandering. Of course, they're always claiming it's Republicans. Back to, it probably goes before Willie Brown, but Willie Brown, the former boyfriend of Kamala Harris, was the Speaker of the Assembly, and he did a lot of wheeling and dealing, extraordinary. It's been laid out elsewhere, but not all of it was above board, in order to redistrict. That's where it began. It began with Democrats, and they're the ones who changed the state to begin with. Now they want to make it even worse, right?
Well, that's exactly right. And, you know, we've had this independent citizens commission that the voters established, but they never wanted this commission to be there. Nancy Pelosi and the state Democrat Party led the opposition to the creation of the independent citizens commission. And so they've been looking for any pretext to get rid of it so that they could gerrymander the state to the hilt. So that's what Prop 50 is all about. And they're asking voters to embrace this tortured logic that some other state is doing something wrong, so we should do it too, except do it actually a lot more. And if California voters, are able to see what they're actually voting on this initiative, they would overwhelmingly reject it. But the problem is Gavin Newsom has spent over $100 million and even contorted the language that's on the ballot itself in order to try to confuse people and mislead people into thinking they're voting for something else entirely.
You know, Congressman, I can't help but think about over the years how many times we've been warned frantically by Democrats, including Gavin Newsom, about the threat to democracy. And yet here you have the governor of California rigging the gerrymandering to favor Democrats to have one-party rule even more than they do right now, which is pretty significant. You pointed out the numbers on presidential representation. It's completely one-sided. And yet they're tripling down on one-party rule, which has led to the demise of the economy and just the way of life in California. What is your response to them claiming, again, that they're all for protecting democracy, but really they just want a power lock by redoing these districts so they never lose again?
Right. So we need to destroy democracy in order to save democracy. You know, they'll say, well, Texas gerrymandered, that's a bad gerrymander. And, you know, North Carolina is going to gerrymander after us. That's a bad gerrymander. But this is a good gerrymander. It just makes absolutely no sense. My view is that gerrymandering is wrong wherever it occurs, and California voters should reject it in the one place we can, our own state. But you make a very important point, that this isn't really Democrat versus Republican. This is voters versus politicians. And what Newsom is trying to do here is to entrench even more power in the hands of a corrupt political class that has caused California to go from being the most beautiful state in the country to being the most popular state to leave. And so, we have a lot of momentum in California right now, by the way. We've defeated Newsom time and time again on policy. We've defeated him in recent elections. And so this is an attempt to try to stall that momentum that is leading our state back to sanity.
Well, you still have, as I counted, 9 Republican congressmen there, but you could have 0. It's the same in Massachusetts. Yeah. They had about the same number of people percentage-wise voting for Trump in the last election. They have 0 Republican representatives in Congress. So it might be the same in California. Let's hope not. but you're doing your best. Congressman Kevin Kiley, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming in.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.